It's Thursday, the 20th of July, 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, with Australians soon to receive a pamphlet with both the yes and no cases for the Voice to Parliament referendum. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was on the hustings yesterday, insisting that the vote will pass.
Yes, he ruled out changes to the Voice to Parliament referendum question and got a bit short with a Sydney radio interviewer when the DJ said the Prime Minister was putting some Australians ahead of others. That's very much the argument of the No group. His response, Albanese's response, and I quote, talking about Indigenous Australians having special rights, ignores the fact that this is the most disadvantaged group. There's an 8-year life expectancy gap and there's a greater chance of an Indigenous young man going to jail than to university. He said the Voice could not lobby the Reserve Bank over interest rates because the bank is independent of government. He also ruled out reparations for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians. Away from the Voice, Albanese expressed his disappointment in the decline of the public service and said his government is committed to reducing its reliance on major consulting firms. He said culture shift within the public service had resulted in a trend where officials regularly refer questions put to them to consultancies for the answer.
And Sean, one other big story in politics at the moment, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin will travel to Brisbane next week for the annual Australia United States Ministerial Consultations meeting.
God, that'd be exciting, Michael. Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles will also then travel with Austin to North Queensland to observe Australian and US military personnel taking part in exercises. The talks will consider ways to deepen collaboration across defence and security, climate and clean energy, and economic resilience. Marles said that Australia will continue to work with partners, including the US, to build a region that is peaceful, stable, and prosperous, Michael.
Story number 2, what do you make of this one, Sean? Federal Education Minister Jason Clare yesterday announced a raft of potential changes to the higher education system in an effort to increase the number of students from underrepresented groups enrolled in university.
The Interim Universities Accord report hopes that changes can increase the number of students at universities from about 900,000 now to 1.8 million by 2050. The review put forward about 70 ideas to improve the system. One is a universal learning entitlement that would help more Australians get qualifications and ensure students from disadvantaged groups are eligible for a funded place at university. A new needs-based funding model for Commonwealth-supported places was another idea. The review also proposes putting a levy on international student fee income to create a fund, something like a sovereign wealth fund, except with a mandate to protect the sector from future economic shocks and help fund infrastructure, research and student housing.
All right, on to story number 3. The Women's Football World Cup kicks off tonight with 1.5 million people expected to attend the games across Australia and New Zealand and a global TV audience of 2 billion people. That is incredible.
Sure is. They'll be watching Sam Kerr leading Australians. Now, the build-up locally has been enormous, but last-minute sponsorship deals and fights over broadcasting rights, in part because of the time difference between Europe, North America and Australia, has taken some of the gloss off expected revenue for women's football. FIFA, World Football's governing body, has been criticised for its handling of commercial negotiations. According to a report in the Financial Times, the Women's World Cup is set to generate just over $300 million in sponsorship revenue for FIFA. The Men's World Cup in Qatar last year brought in $6.3 billion.
Sean, story number 4, Donald Trump yesterday said he's the target of a criminal probe into efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 US presidential election, raising the possibility that he could face fresh federal charges in the coming days.
He described the development as horrifying after receiving a letter from the Department of Justice informing him he was a target of an investigation into the run-up to the January 6, 2021 attack on the US Capitol. Trump said the letter from Special Counsel Jack Smith, who is handling the investigation, had given him a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and indictment. Fresh criminal charges would deepen the legal risks facing Trump as he campaigns for another term as president. Of course, last month, federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment charging him with 37 criminal counts relating to his handling of classified government documents. Plenty more to play on this one.
Certainly is. Last one, story number 5, Barbenheimer has hit the world, Sean. Moviegoers are watching the 2 big movies of the Northern Summer on the same day. This is Barbie, starring Australia's own Margot Robbie, and Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy.
AMC Entertainment, which is the world's largest movie chain, says more than 20,000 of its AMC Stubs members have already booked Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day. UK cinema chain View says that as of Tuesday, 19% of people who booked tickets to see Oppenheimer also bought tickets for Barbie. Now, they're not quite the same genre, even if they hit the big screens today on the same day. Barbie is a PG-rated comedy that runs just under 2 hours and apparently answers some long-standing questions about the doll herself. Oppenheimer is an R-rated 3-hour dramatic epic. Along with Tom Cruise's latest Mission Impossible, the three are the great hopes of cinema this year, Michael.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 20th of July, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. That comes with a bunch of interviews and things. Today's interview is a great one for investors, all about small cap companies. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.